And I know you've had your, love-hate relationship with the Dave Meltzer 5-star power rankings. Probably even more than my WWE power rankings that I do on Wednesdays. And I understand you kind of go by the money bags instead of stars and everything else. But I just wanted to give you his latest 5-star rankings, and that is from what we saw on this previous weekend with Dominion 2018. Kenny Omega, Okada, he gave that match, some claiming to be the greatest match of all time, he gave it an all-time high 7 stars.
Wait, it's a 5-star rating and he gave it 7 stars?
7 stars.
Dear God. And the masses, the wrestling fans will buy into this as if it's the gospel. 7-star match. When Ric Flair decides to start reviewing matches and giving them star ratings, that's when I'll start listening. I mean, Dave, was it a 7-star match?
I mean,
if it was a 7-star match, why wasn't it an 8-star match?
But if 5 is the best, 5 stars is the best. So I don't know what to say. So now 5's not the best. So now once you've given a match 7 stars, now if a match got 5 stars, which is supposed to be the top ranking of all, then that's not going to be great because you've given a match 7 stars, not 6 stars. You gave a match 7 stars. 7!
Didn't he give one of their other matches 6 stars already?
All right, here, you want to know the rankings for all the Omega Okada matches? Here
yes,
we go.
Please.
So the first one, which was at Wrestle Kingdom 11 in January of 2017, that was the one that started all of this. That was awarded 6 stars. The next one that followed, Okada Omega 2 at Dominion in June of 2017, that was a draw. That was awarded 6.25 stars. Then we go to Okada Omega 3, which was a 30-minute time limit in the G1 Climax, not for the IWGP Championship. That was awarded 6 stars. And then the most recent one, of course, that we're talking about today, where Kenny finally won the belt, that was awarded 7.
7 stars, Bully.
So right off the bat, he can't even stick to his own star rating.
I mean, he's gone over 5. So what about all those matches that are supposed to be the greatest matches of all time that got 5 stars? They are no longer the greatest matches of all time because now he's giving matches 6, 6.5 stars, and 7 stars.
It's kind of ridiculous. And I know it's just him doing his thing and stirring up his demographic.
I actually love it. I actually
Why do you love it?
I love the fact that he gave that match 7 stars.
Why?
Because it's just, to me, it's fast.
You love it because it's stupid.
It's not stupid. It's his opinion, and
it's an opinion.
That's his way of saying the match that he saw take place at Dominion is not only the greatest match he's ever seen, but it's also him saying that there could never be a better match because he's giving it 2 stars above his 5-star rating.
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm saying this because I don't know how that's possible. I could have 2 stars over your ultimate 5-star rating, but that's where we are.
I could have made the same argument for his 6-star rating. He's now saying that this match is so superior that you can never get over 6 stars, and now he's giving somebody 7 stars.
It's like Siskel and Ebert. You remember Siskel and Ebert back in the day? They had that TV show at the movies.
You only have so many thumbs.
Yes, like you're like they give you either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's like saying this movie was so good it gets the entire arm. It's the whole arm. So it's not just so now the thumbs up isn't good enough. Now I'm giving you my entire arm. That's what Dave Meltzer said with the Okada Omega match that we saw this past weekend.
I don't know what constitutes a 7-star match. If you're going to give it 7, you might as well give it 8 or 9. I mean, so who's going to have the 8 or 9-star match? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous with the stars. I get it, the star rating, the thumbs up or the thumbs down, but things are getting a little out of hand. And if you're a listener, please don't allow Dave Meltzer's opinion. Don't allow Dave LaGreca's opinion. Don't allow Bully Ray's opinion to dictate to you what you like or what you don't like. Watch a match on your own. Make your own decisions based on what your eyes and your ears tell you.
Yeah, but you know what though, and of course you have to have your own opinion, but it's also fun getting the opinion of others. That's why, like, when we do our show, like on Monday, when we're doing our show after Money in the Bank, you know, we're going to have our reactions to the matches that take place, but it's fun for a listener to say, you know what, I thought that match was great, but I got to get, you know, LaGreca and Bully's take on that match. I'll be honest with you. On Monday, when I was coming into work on the train, I was searching to see what Meltzer had to say about that match, and nothing was out in the morning, so I actually read his ranking when I was leaving work on Monday, but I wanted to hear what Meltzer had to say because I knew he loved it. I knew Meltzer loved it, and I thought this was the best match out of the bunch. And knowing that he gave previous matches that they had 6 and 6.5 stars, I wanted to see what his ranking would be, and he didn't disappoint because he gave the match 7 stars.
You wanted to see what his star rating was out of morbid curiosity just so you could laugh, not because you actually wanted to invest real credibility into it. It's not like you wanted to come on the show and go, wow, Dave Meltzer gave this 7 stars. This is the be-all and end-all. You did it more because you wanted to pop for it.
No, I mean, a little
When
bit,
people-
but I do value Dave Meltzer's opinion on things.
Why?
Though. He's
Why?
because he's
How many
respected.
bumps has he ever taken?
Come on, that's unfair.
Sure it is.
Because then that's saying that, but then that's saying that something that I say doesn't have any credibility because I didn't step in the ring.
You are credible as a educated wrestling fan. Dave Meltzer is the same thing. He's an educated wrestling fan. I don't take anything away from Dave when it comes to that. He's a great historian. He's an educated wrestling fan. He speaks intelligently. Smart guy. But when it comes to reviewing matches, what do you know about being in the middle of that ring and putting on a performance? You know nothing about it. Dave Meltzer doesn't know what a 2, 3, 4, 5-star match is because, listen, to us, Steamboat Flair is 5 stars, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if Ric Flair would have come on our show or Ricky Steamboat would have come on our show and say, I give this 5 stars for this reason, you're going to put a lot of stock into it because who knows better than Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat? Then I get it. But to take an educated fan opinion on his star ranking and hold it as if it was gospel, I'm sorry. To me, that's just idiotic. If you want to just have fun with it and play with it and put a star rating on it, but it's gone way past that. You see fans arguing, well, Meltzer gave it 5 stars. Meltzer gave it this. And now it's not like it's like 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. We have 4.25, 4.5, 4.75. How do you break down a match? What differentiates a match between 4.25 stars and 4.75 stars?
Because
what happened in that match that gave it that extra half a star rating?
That match was an extra star rating better than the match that the other match. And I'll say this, Bully. I'm going to say this.
Stop, you sheep.
And I'll say this too, Bully. And I'm being completely honest. Ric Flair is the greatest wrestler of all time. You know how I feel about Ric Flair. I would take Dave Meltzer's opinion about a match over Ric Flair's opinion about a match.
Now you're just stirring people up.
No, I'm
now you're just stirring people up for the sake of stirring people up.
I'm being completely honest here because Ric Flair is going to look at the match is going to look at a match differently than somebody like Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer is going into that match completely unbiased. He's a fan. He's been covering the sport for decades. He's looking at that match probably the same way that I'm going to look at that match. Now, Ric Flair is going to tell you things about a match more over than what I could tell you or Dave Meltzer could tell you, but when you're just looking at the match for pure enjoyment's sake and the quality of a match, I would take the opinion of a Dave Meltzer over a Ric Flair. I'm being completely honest here.
No, you're stirring people up.
I am not stirring anybody up.
Because an educated wrestling fan like you would never honestly say that they would take the opinion of a fan over the opinion of the expert. The expert can put an honest star rating on something. Just like when restaurants get star ratings from the Michelin Corporation, those are experts putting star ratings on other experts. People who know what the hell they're talking about. Dave Meltzer is entitled to do all of the great stuff that he does with his radio show and his publication. All that stuff is great. But the people that put stock into his opinion based on a star rating is mind-boggling to me. You can't tell me.
It's just the gauge, though, Bully. It's just the gauge. You
can't tell me, as smart as you are, that you would take his opinion with a star rating over Ric Flairs. You would take the novices over the expert. Come on, man. Do you understand how idiotic that sounds?
It's not idiotic because listen, if I found out on Twitter, Ric Flairs, the teases, I give my opinion about Okada and Omega from Dominion 2018. Of course, I'm going to read it. Of course, I'm going to be interested, and I'm going to want to hear what a icon like Ric Flair has to say about a match that I love. But I'm telling you right now, boy, and I'm being completely honest, Meltzer's opinion's going to mean more to me because he's looking at it in a different way. Listen, let's take this show, for example, boy. The reason that you and I are together is because we give different points of view of things, right? If we had the same point of view, it wouldn't be good radio because you're going to say something that I wouldn't even know what to say because you're giving a different side of it, a different opinion of it, but also an insider's view of it. I'm giving the outsider's view of it. I'm giving the fans' view of it. It's the same thing here. Dave Meltzer's giving the outsider's view of something. I'm just wondering, like, people who listen to this show, do they value my opinion more or your opinion more? Now, not taking anything away from your opinion because it's your opinion, but also you're able to give a different perspective. But I think my perspective is probably more in tune to what the nation's perspective is. That's the same reason why I would take Meltzer's opinion over Ric Flair's opinion.
I'll give you a perfect example of your opinion versus my opinion. The first Okada-Omega match, excuse me, you thought was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I told you why I didn't think it was, and I gave you logical reasons as to why I did not think it was. After you heard my logical reasons, you agreed with me.
I still think it was an amazing match.
It was an amazing match. No doubt, but the quote-unquote expert in me told you how a championship match that had credibility and prestige on it cannot use a gimmick like a table and then also have people on a floor for past the 20 count. It doesn't make logical sense. And if it doesn't make logical sense, you cannot apply as many stars to the rating. Now, if I were to do a star rating on a match, I would never look at it through the eyes of the professional. I would look at it through the eyes of a fan. How much did this entertain me? I'm not going to be like, well, they reversed that arm bar the wrong way, so that's going to cost them half a star. I can tell you matches that I believe are 5-star matches just based on the level of entertainment. So the fact that you could tell me that you would take Meltzer's opinion over Flair's opinion when you just said it wouldn't make for good radio if we just had the same opinion, you're basically telling me you're taking the Meltzer side because you want good radio.
No, I mean, obviously I want good radio, and if it was just two fans sitting here doing a show, the perspective of the show would completely change. I want the fans' perspective, and I want the wrestler's perspective. That's why this is a good chemistry mix between the two of us. But when it comes to, like, when I watch a match, like right now, in the studio we have, Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly, which was a great match from NXT last night. Now, Ric Flair's going to give me his opinion, but Ric Flair's opinion is going to be based on him as a wrestler. I want to get the fans' perspective of it.
Somebody who's been covering this. Fan.
Like,
Ric Flair is still a fan.
I know he's still a fan. Here's another example. Like, NFL. There's people who cover the NFL. There's beat writers that cover a team. I love getting that beat writer's perspective. The guy who watches every practice, watches every game, is a quote-unquote expert when it comes to a particular team than the perspective of a player that's on that team. Because it's going to be completely different. They're looking at the eyes of the fan. Dave Meltzer is looking at matches in the eyes of a fan. And what he's saying by giving it that 7-star rating is they broke the bank. This match was so great. It blew my 5-star rating away because it's so mind-blowing. This is the greatest thing that I've ever seen.
But there's no credibility in that because his 5-star rating was blown away by the first match. The first match they ever had, the 5-star was blown away. I could understand how if they would have had their first match, if Meltzer would have said, I'm giving this 5 stars, and then the second match would have blown away the first 5-star rating. But you can't start at 6 stars. Come on. We're talking about star ratings now? For what reason? You either liked a match or you didn't like a match. The only experts that I'm listening to, if they had to put star ratings are the most successful performers in the history of our career. So if I were to tell you that Okada versus Omega was this last match, that if he said that it was 7 stars, what if I would have told you, no, Dave, it's only 5 stars?
Again, that's your opinion.
Why does his opinion hold more credibility than mine?
It's not a question of credibility. It's just perspective. The perspective of Dave.
What perspective does he have that sways you so much?
Bully, when you have a match.
What perspective? I'm asking you a question.
He's got the fans' perspective because I'm gonna throw this back at you, Bully. When you have a match with somebody, is it about what the opinions of the people in the back, the other wrestlers, or the opinions of the fans?
The opinions of the fans?
Of course. Well, that's the same thing here. It's the same thing here. Like, obviously, I'm going to value your opinion or Ric Flairs' opinion or anybody that stepped between the ropes. You know a hell of a lot more about pro wrestling because you've actually wrestled. I never did. But that perspective of the fan means more to me because you know what? That's my perspective as well.
How can you allow somebody who doesn't even stick to their own star rating to dictate to you how you should feel about a match?
Because this match blew any other match that he saw away.
So then just call it another 5-star match. If your rating system is between 1 star and 5, I think since you've set your own precedent, every single one of the Okada Omega matches have been 5 stars. Or just say 5 plus. But to say 6 and 6.25 and 7, this is stupidity. And we're spending time talking about stupidity. And the fact that you would take a novice when it comes to in-ring action over the opinion of an expert like a Ric Flair, coming out of your mouth and hearing that, I'm blown away. I would venture to say that most people listening to the show and most people on social media don't share that opinion because star ratings on matches, I've never understood them. If you're just doing it for fun amongst your friends, I get it. But Dave Meltzer has taken this to a level where people look at him as a wrestling messiah, and if Meltzer said it's worth this many stars, then he must be right. If you believe that, you're a sheep. You're a follower. You don't have your own set of brains, and you're a bottom feeder.
Why can't you just value somebody's opinion? Why do you have to be a sheep? It's just somebody. I value Dave Meltzer's opinion.
Come up with your own star rating. Come up with your own star. Watch the match and say, hey, Bully, I gave it this many stars, not I agree with Dave Meltzer. Just because Dave Meltzer said it, you automatically agree with it?
I'm not saying that people have to change their opinions on something
is the
because Meltzer's saying
of
that.
Sheep.
I'm not saying that they have to change their opinions. It's just I have my opinion. I respect Dave Meltzer. I want to get his opinion as well.
So wait a minute. Do you honestly believe that there are people out there that may not have seen Okada Omega yet, but know that Dave Meltzer has put a certain star rating on it? Now they'll go watch it, and now they'll be, oh, wow, that's 7 stars, even though they may not agree with it.
I don't think that, but I think
but that's what happens.
Well, then that's different. That's not where I'm coming from. I don't think people who listen to the show should change their opinion on something just based because I have a different opinion. But I think like what we do here, what we did this week. Think of all the tweets that you and I have gotten this week, Bully, as people have said that they've never watched New Japan, but they watched because we were talking about it and they were blown away by Okada and Omega. I think that's what Dave Meltzer is doing too. He's not saying to people, you know what, if you didn't like this match, you're wrong. He's giving his opinion. Now, whether they change their mind, that's not on him. That's the people that are watching, not on Dave Meltzer.
We try to expand the horizons of the wrestling fan on this show. We don't pigeonhole anything into a star rating. Okay? So what if he thinks a match is on? I'm sure that there are matches that he has rated that he's given, I don't know, 2 or 3 stars.
Sure.
Where me and you would look at it and go, oh my God, that was a 4 or 5 star match. We like that so much more. He's dictating to wrestling fans how they should feel. In turn, they look at him, they buy his publication. He is a bigger work than the wrestling business is. Because the wrestling business is something tangible. It's like magic, where you go to see a show and you get paid to get lied to. He's getting paid to lie about the lie.
Again, like Siskel and Ebert, if that's why you have critics. Maybe before you go to a restaurant, you see somebody do a critique of the restaurant, they hated it, I'm not going to go. But if you went, you might have loved it. It's one person's opinion, but it's going to sway people's opinion if they never watched it.
My point is, don't allow other people, including me and you. I would never tell somebody to watch or not watch based on a bully star rating. Enjoy wrestling or any other genre of entertainment on your own.
So star ratings just a gauge. I'll say this. I'll say this right now, Bully. Everybody that's listening to this show right now should watch Okada and Omega from Dominion 2018. I'm saying it. I'll give it 6, 7, 8. I don't care about the star rating.
So
I'm not gauging it. I'm just saying everybody listening should watch that match.
How many stars did you give the match?
I don't give star ratings.
But if you
that's Dave Meltzer's thing.
But so you agree on his 7 stars?
If he gave the last match 6.5 stars, then this one should be 7.
So then you agree on his 6.5 stars?
All I'm saying, based on how he
You just proved my point. You just proved my point. You said, well, if he gave the other one 6.5 and he gave this one 7, it must be right. You are
because this match was better than their last match.
Number 1 on this show. I said you were a sheep.
I'm not a sheep.
You are.
There's times that I completely disagree with Dave. That's not true.
You are following the opinions of others.
Completely untrue. Because there's matches that Dave Meltzer loved that I did not like. And there's matches that he loved that I didn't like, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I agree with Dave Meltzer doesn't make me a sheep, Bully. By your line of thinking that everybody that listens to this show should listen to you and not me, because you're the guy that stepped through the ropes, and I'm a guy who just watches. Yeah, that's the way I take it. That's the way I take it.
What I'm saying is, if somebody is going to have a star rating, I want to get a star rating from a credible source who understands the performance from all levels.
But he's been following the sport for decades and decades.
I've been following plenty of things for decades and decades. That doesn't make me an expert.
But you watch a performer like you or Ric Flairs. You watch a match in a different way than somebody like a Dave Meltzer. That's all I'm saying, Bully.
And as a performer, me or any other performer can give you a more accurate star rating because we understand things that he may not. So my whole point of this discussion was, I think the star rating stuff is okay for fun, but at the end of the day, I think it's kind of dumb.
Well, it's all fun.
Hold on. My whole point was how much stock people put into this guy's star rating. I asked you, do you agree with the 7 stars? Your answer was, well, if he gave the last one 6.5 and he gave this one 7, he must be right.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. You didn't hear what I said because that's not what I said. I said if he gave the last match 6.5 stars, then that's accurate giving this one 7 stars because it was a better match than their third match.
So you're agreeing with his 6.5 on the last match?
All I said
Are there any star ratings that you disagree with this Okada Omega 4 matches?
I would have gauged it differently. I would if 5 is going to be the limit. I do think it's ridiculous to go over the 5 stars. If 5 stars is the absolute best, then 5 stars should be the absolute best. But when you asked me if the last match was 6.5, does that make this one 7? Absolutely, because this match was better than their last.
Hey, you're hanging out with a lot of sheep, so you should feel very comfortable.
Oh, man, you are something else. Let's go out to Howard in Virginia. Howard, what's going on, buddy?
First of all, I renewed my subscription just for this show.
Thank you, Howard.
That's how good y'all are.
Thank you, buddy.
Second of all, I don't even know who Dave Meltzer is. But let me tell you how stupid he is.
Wow.
For him to make a definitive statement means that he has had to see every match there's ever been to make that statement, and I don't think he has. I'm 58 years old, and I grew up watching Memphis wrestling. And I'm going to tell you something. Now, Bully's been there. I can tell you Memphis wrestling has had some pretty daggone good matches. And for him to sit there and to say that definitive, I give him no credit.
Why? It's his opinion. By the way, Dave Meltzer's 58 years old. And he's been watching wrestling his whole life. I don't know if he started watching Memphis like you, but listen, here's the thing that maybe you don't understand, Howard. The reason that this is a two-way talk show is because I value your opinion. And then you know what? I value Dave Meltzer's opinion. Because Dave Meltzer's a guy who's been covering the sport for decades. I like the way that he covers a match. I value his opinion, so his opinion on the Okada Omega match from this past weekend means something to me. The fact that it doesn't mean anything to you, that's fine. That doesn't sway my opinion about Dave Meltzer.
Okay, but I have the opinion to sit there and say that he is full of it.
Why? Because he thinks that match from this weekend was the best match he's ever seen?
No, Dave, to make a definitive statement. Now, look, if you sitting here saying, I think that is the best match, okay, that's his opinion.
Yeah.
But to make a definitive statement, that is, without a doubt, and I'm not even a lawyer, but even I got enough sense to know that you don't make a definitive statement. If I tell you, Dave, that is the best match there has ever been, I can prove it. And then Bully Ray is sitting there saying, his star rating ain't worth nothing because, number one, he ain't ever been in the ring. I give respect to the wrestlers that have been in the ring, that have done the deal. And I'll be honest with you, I grew up watching wrestling when I was a child. The only thing I've ever had that I could honestly depend on in my life was knowing that I'm going to be able to watch wrestling. And that's going to be, that's my...
Howard, I don't disagree. Listen, Howard, you're talking to a man who's been divorced twice. All right, there's no guarantee that the woman I say I do is going to be there for the rest of my life. Wrestling will be. I've had friends that I thought were going to be my friends for my entire life, and they've stabbed me in the back. But wrestling will always be there. So my dedication and my love is wrestling. That doesn't take away anything that Dave Meltzer said. And that's not disrespecting a Bully Ray or Ric Flair or anybody that stepped into a ring. Mike Jackson, Jose Luis Rivera, it doesn't matter. I have the ultimate respect for anybody that stepped into the squared circle. But it doesn't change my mind when it comes to an opinion about a match. In Dave Meltzer's opinion, Dave Meltzer's not ridiculing people that don't agree with him. He's saying, in his opinion, what we saw at Dominion, that was the greatest match he's ever seen.
Well, is he planning on dying, or is he planning on never watching it again? Because just like you, now, and I'm going to take your words, just like Ring of Honor, which I've never seen, just like New Japan, which I've never seen.
You should watch Ring of Honor. Cheeseburger's one of the best out there right now.
Yeah, I hear you, and I know Bully's sitting over there rolling his eyes. I pay attention. But to sit there and to say it's the best there's ever been, he don't think there's going to ever be none that good, is cutting the legs off of the other wrestlers. Now that's disrespectful, Dave. Are you telling me just because he says it that the other wrestlers shouldn't get in there and try and do the best?
But he's not saying that. How? Let me ask you this, and again, this is your opinion. What match do you think was the best match you've ever seen?
Oh, I'd have to go back. Now, I'm old school, Dave.
I get it.
Now, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to say some names that Bully Ray probably would know. But I'm talking about the interns with Dr. Ken Rankin. I'm talking about Tojo Yamamoto.
Okay.
One of the best heels.
All right. What match in particular? And give me a year.
I like Jerry Lawler.
I get Jerry Lawler. I understand. I mean, Memphis has some of the greatest feuds and matches of all time. So let me ask you this. Let's just say, for example, Howard, that your favorite match that you ever saw was Bill Dundee against Jerry Lawler. Do you think you're ever going to see a match better than that?
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
Okay.
Because the talent is that damn good. Like you guys talk, if they take the handcuffs off, like the WWE, if they would take the handcuffs off, and like Bully Ray said, let them do their deal. Just like y'all been talking about Chris Jericho. Look at what he's doing. And let me say this. Bully Ray.
Yes.
I give him and D-Bot because they are old school. Because they go to the wrestling ring.
He does go to the wrestling ring.
And they give the best showing.
All right. Howard, I agree with everything you're saying, and thanks so much for the phone call. It doesn't sway me in valuing Dave Meltzer's opinion. That's his opinion. He thinks that was the greatest match he's ever seen, and he thinks it's hard-pressed that there ever be a match to top that. The guy's been covering wrestling for decades. I value the opinion. Nothing that Howard said in that entire phone call about wrestling has anything to do with my opinion about Dave Meltzer and the respect I give Dave Meltzer. And here's the, and I'll go one further. We've been on the air for over 9 years. Dave Meltzer has never been a guest on this show. As a matter of fact, I might even say I don't think Dave Meltzer likes me. He mustn't. I've had everybody on but Dave Meltzer. The guy's never been on the show. Never. He must not like me. But yet I still value the man's opinion. As a matter of fact, that guy's been booked a couple of times and he still hasn't come on. So he must not like me. But I value his opinion.
Let me ask you this. The first Okada Omega match.
Oh, actually, it wasn't Dave Meltzer. The producer booked the wrong Dave Meltzer. It was the other Dave Meltzer. But go ahead.
The first Okada Omega match, how many stars did Meltzer give it?
I think the first one was 6.
Okay. It was a New Japan World Heavyweight Championship match. All about the spirit of the fight and the prestige of the title. Now, when you think of other great New Japan IWGP heavyweight champions, who do you think of?
Just off the top of my head, I would say an Okada. I would say an AJ Styles. I would say, a Nakamura. There's been so many great names that have held that IWGP championship.
What I'm saying is the more of the old school guys like the Chonos.
Okay.
All
right. What you're getting into is the spirit of the title fight.
The spirit of the title fight. They take their championship very, very seriously. It should be about a pro wrestling match that takes place in the middle of the ring. My biggest problem with the first Okada Omega match which I thought was phenomenal. My problem was the table spot and the fact that they stayed outside the ring for so long. The referee must have counted to 20 2 or 3 different times. The referee spent a lot of time on the floor with these guys when he wasn't in the ring doing his job. Right then and there, those two things take away from a star rating for me. I don't know how you could give a match 6 stars when the star rating level is 5 stars. And oh yeah, they did 2 glaring things that would take away from the star rating of a match. A table bump does not belong in a New Japan IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match when we're speaking of the spirit of the fight and the prestige of a championship. It should be about wrestling, moves, and holds and finishes only.
But New Japan Wrestling has evolved. So now, what goes on outside the ring is a part of a championship match.
My point is, those things that happened are so glaringly wrong to me. They don't make psychological sense to me. How you can add a star to the match as opposed to take away a star from the match is mind-boggling. The star rating is faulted from the very beginning. There are so many different reasons why it doesn't make sense. First of all, it's a 5-star rating, but now we're up to 7. Matches, there are things that happen in matches that make such little psychological sense that we're not taking away. Yes, I could understand how you might want to add a half a star because of the time length and the athleticism. But if you look at these matches on a whole, I don't understand how somebody who's having fun with a star rating could give something 7 stars when the max is 5, and how so many people put stock into this opinion. You are doing the same thing. I think you're chasing the Meltzer hug.
I'm not chasing the Meltzer hug because, again, Meltzer is somebody who's never been on this show. I've never met Dave Meltzer. I've never had a conversation with Dave Meltzer. I don't even know if Dave Meltzer knows who I am. I have been a fan of Dave Meltzer for quite some time. I value his opinion. Now, listen, Bully, I can't have an argument with you about the star rating because I can understand with what you're saying. If it's a 5-star rating and you're going to 7 stars, it is a little ridiculous. But again, that doesn't take away from my respect when it comes to a Dave Meltzer. And as far as like the spirit of the fight, I get it. But, this isn't the days when, Antonio Inoki held on to that title. We're talking 40 years later. The New Japan has evolved. It's completely different than it was, in 1987.
Evolving is good. I get it. But the IWGP Championship, to me, is the most prestigious of all the World Heavyweight Championships in the world. The Universal Championship with WWE, it's more about sports entertainment than it is about pro wrestling and the spirit of the fight, the strong style. So when I see a match between 2 competitors for the IWGP Championship, I want to see the best wrestlers wrestling in a wrestling ring. I'm expecting something, this is just coming off the top of my head. I'm expecting like a Bret Hart versus Owen Hart match that never needs to go to the floor because they're so talented they can do everything in the ring. That's what I expect from a match like that. I don't expect a table bump because technically the table bump should have caused the disqualification. Why was Kenny Omega not disqualified for putting Okada through a table?
Listen, here's the thing.
It's a foreign object being used in a championship match. It's a disqualification.
So for you, that takes away from the match that took place.
But this is the most basic of basic psychologies, and we're applying it to the most prestigious match out there. It shouldn't have been allowed.
Now, that's Red Shoe's fault.
It should not have been allowed, and thus I understand there is creative license in wrestling, so we let certain things happen and we let people get away with certain things because it's entertainment, but you can't give things more stars when there's such a glaring mistake in a match.
All right, 844 said no.
If that match would have happened in front of Vince McMahon, he would have told the referee to ring the bell for a shoot because it happened right in front of the ref and it was a glaring disqualification.